Let's see. So we're now live. So
Yay.
yay is
Hi, everyone.
right. I'm very excited to be here, and I want to welcome everyone. Let me do this.
Merry Christmas.
So I'm very excited to be here, and I want to welcome everyone to this next segment of A Day of Light and Love 2019. And this is an event that we've been live streaming every other hour since, I guess, last night at 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But
You're
we're here.
amazing.
It is so great. It has been such a fantastic experience. We have had so many amazing voices and stories and wisdom and
Mm.
the leaders who have stepped up to freely give of
Yeah.
their time. I mean, today is
Mm.
Boxing Day. You're in Australia, right? You got a
Yeah.
whole family thing going
Yeah.
on, and
Yeah.
you figured it out because
Yeah.
be contributing is a
Yeah.
calling, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We were just down at the beach, actually, my whole family. And so my kids are downstairs with my husband, my family. They're all down in the pool. I managed to like wash all the sand out of my hair. So my hair's still wet from the beach.
Well, let me
But
introduce
yeah.
you to Kylie Ryan. And Kylie is really, Kylie's been on my radar for several years now. And I
Aw.
have watched, I have watched this upward trajectory that doesn't seem to, it's not leveling out, is it? It's,
Uh,
uh-uh. I love that.
uh,
I love that. Could you just, for those, there will be people who don't know you, people who do know you, maybe just
yeah,
give a little bit of who you are and what you do, and then
yeah,
we're going to talk about well, we're going to talk about what your topic was. So
yeah, from healing into growth. So I've been like super blessed and privileged to be working in the personal development industry, the coaching industry for 15 years now, as a coach and healer and mindset coach and weight loss mindset coach for a while, and the last 6 or 7 years I've been training and teaching coaches in my methods, combining coaching, meta coaching, neuro linguistic programming, hypnosis, kind of quantum healing, energetic work, somatic work has been something that I've been adding in this year, and working to some kinesiology, spiral dynamics,
mm,
levels of consciousness, lots of beautiful, as
wow.
we all when we're in this journey, we just soak up all the knowledge and synthesize it in a way that that makes sense and that we can serve. So I've been on this journey for a while, and I'm really honored to be able to give back to the community and help support other coaches and healers and people that are coming into the industry and who are excited and who are on their own, sometimes coming in, starting with their own healing journey, and kind of being clients and coming to work through maybe a relationship issue or a health issue or a career change issue, and then finding, oh, wow, this helping people and this kind of thing, it's really calling to me. So I'm very much working now with the people who have been on or who are still on their healing journey, and who are starting to step into that space of becoming leaders in their own communities and starting to maybe think about a meaning-based career like this in coaching or helping or healing in some way. So yeah, so I teach and train coaches to become and step into their luminary leadership. So for
Mm.
a day of light and love, to start to step into their own light so that they can shift from healing, doing their own inner work, into reaching that tipping point where they feel like they've got something really valuable to serve and can serve others who are maybe a few steps behind them on the journey.
Excuse me. Wow, that is
Yeah.
that's a lot of that's a lot of life work there in a
That's
small
a lot of
package.
life. Yeah, there's a lot. I'm like, I've condensed down that story now.
Wow, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is so
Yeah.
good. Well, you are a, Day of Light and Love alumni. You're one of the alumni. You're an alumnus, and
Alumnus.
you're an alumnus, and you have
Mm,
been with us. This is your third
third
year,
year.
and
Yeah.
what there have been some changes, right?
There have. Yeah, last year I was focusing still. I was with my old business partner, and we were focused on helping and working with the body and really aligning spirit to matter in the body. And we were talking about light in foods, and I remember that your kind of aha moment around light in foods and bringing, putting food in your body that has is the closest to the
The
light.
closest to the sun.
The closest to the sun.
I
The closest to the
carry
sun.
that even now.
Thank you. It's a powerful insight, and so yeah. So my business partner and I have gone in different directions. She's still working in health and body, and helping women around body and body image and that type of thing. She's also had triplets. Amazing. She's an amazing, amazing woman. I love and adore her. So we've gone in slightly different directions, and so she's working in the body, and I've really come back to my center and been through my own kind of journey around really owning my place, helping and supporting coaches, and being able to offer my guidance and my kind of experience and pass it on to the next generation of coaches that are coming through, people that are wanting to wake up to their own, meaningful careers and make a life giving back to others and being of service to the collective. So yeah,
So
I'm excited.
what wisdom do you have to share?
What wisdom do I have to share? Well, I've been thinking a lot lately about this shift between linear and exponential growth, and I'll explain it in a way, because so many people that start out on a healing journey, whether they realize it or not, they have this calling, they have this inner calling, and it might show up as a problem or a difficulty in their life to start off with, maybe a way to a career, a betrayal, a loss, whatever, however it kind of shows up. And that can be a catalyst for their awakening moment that starts to send them on this journey, this inward journey, to start to heal and become aware of the deeper things that are going on in the world, and how the world that they perceive reflected back to them is in a way a reflection of the inner landscape, as without so within, and is a reflection of the inner landscape that's going on. And so I'm really called to think about this idea as we shift in the planet from, there's a lot of craziness going on in the planet. There's a lot of, climate change is something that's really dear to my heart in Australia right now. We're ringed by fire all around it. And it's interesting that there's an eclipse, which is the ring of fire as well. Like in Sydney, where you can't get out of Sydney, basically, there's about two roads. There's fires all around us. And luckily, not right where we can see them, but there's a lot of people in our country that are battling the fires, and that have lost a lot due to the fires. And it's very interesting. We're at a really critical point, I think, in the shift of humanity. Some people call it the shift from the 3D, from the third dimension into the fifth dimension, or a shift from, one of our beautiful mentor and teacher, Yvonne, talking about the shift from bright to brilliant futures, and the possibility of the dark and the dim that might wake us up. And I had this insight just recently when I was teaching a workshop about this shift of exponential technology and and the exponential curve and how it relates to our growth. And I had this insight that I think is valuable to share. And when you think about some of these companies that are in the world that have kind of come from nowhere, like the Ubers and the Airbnbs and these giant companies that have seemed to come from nowhere and create this massive impact in the world and deliver their service for the world. This idea of exponential growth, I've been reading and kind of studying a little bit about it, and this man Salim Ismail has written a book called Exponential Organizations, and a big part of an exponential organization is this guiding what he calls an MTP, a massive transformational purpose. And so it's interesting because we're in the business of transformation. We're in the soul work of transformation. And I believe that someone that is skilled at transformation starts out by having a reason to transform themselves, right? So they start out in a place where maybe they need to heal, maybe they're struggling, maybe they're suffering in some way, and that suffering becomes a catalyst for their own growth. And so when I was drawing it the other day on this workshop board, on this whiteboard, and looking at this curve, an exponential curve kind of goes like this, and it's down for a lot, and then it shoots up, right? It shoots up. Yes. And when you look at and you think about it, if you kind of draw it in your mind, the shift between an exponential curve that kind of is low and low, and then it shoots up, and a linear curve that kind of goes on a diagonal, there's a period of time where it looks like the linear curve, the line just going up is ahead. It looks like the linear version of growth is ahead. And then there's this point where the exponential starts to gather momentum, and the exponential curve is a doubling curve. So every year it's doubling, and it starts out really small. And so those first few doubles don't really mean, they don't kind of show up that much as a big impact, but it's an internal impact. And when I relate this then then Salim's talking about this shift between where the exponential curve starts to overtake the linear, and it just shoots up way past the linear. That's the gap of disruption, where things can come from almost seemingly out of nowhere and just like totally overtake and make all of the old things obsolete.
Yes.
And so when my purpose is personal transformation, I'm thinking, wow, this is really interesting, from the macro level, how that's showing up in the world. And I also see, people like you and friends around me in this, in this industry who are doing this deep work. And I kind of relate it to that we're on this exponential curve ourselves. And so, healers and people that work in transformation, we have a massive transformational purpose. It starts out as, maybe transforming myself, or then transforming the issue that I've been directly affected by. And wanting to help others in that. And it comes from this place deep within, and it comes from our lived experience, and it comes from our suffering, and from the wisdom that is gained through tears and through heartache and through, years of study and working with these things that are deeply emotional and deeply transformative. And then there comes this tipping point for people that are on this healing journey where you start to gather enough internal power and enough internal kind of fortitude and strength in the sense of your mission that you can move beyond yourself and beyond your own healing journey to start to be able to shift into a life of service. And that service, like I liken it to this bamboo metaphor, that there are some species of bamboo that grow such deep roots and that nothing much happens on the surface, kind of like a carrot. It's growing deep, deep down into the earth and gathering its resources. But this bamboo, then once it has the root system in place, it shoots up, vast lengths overnight. And I really see that I see that around me, and I see this possibility emerging for, people in our collective, people that are on this healing journey who are making big kind of ripples and big impacts and starting to gather this momentum. And I see it almost when I think about the collective, and how each and every one of us, when we shift and we raise our frequency and we raise our consciousness, then it's going, it's starting to reach a tipping point where things are starting to change. There's lots of people in Australia where I am right now, who are deeply angered and upset about our kind of political system that's going on. And when I look at that through the eyes of perception is projection, when I look at that through that kind of lens, this is interesting. Like there's been this apathy about politics in Australia for a very long time. And so when there's all these things going on that there's not much change happening, I feel this, bubbling, growing sense of desire, of, fire to actually make a difference. And people that are coming up that have this different set of values, that are more deeply connected into the ecosystem and nature, and and deeply concerned for our planet, and making changes in our life that makes a difference in how we show up on a daily basis. So I see this exponential kind of curve around me, that it can kind of look like, in that period where the exponential is growing the deep roots, it can look like the other is ahead, and it looks like, the old ways are winning, if you want to look at it through the paradigm of win and loss. But it's, kind of, I see this swing of duality of, as we're growing, we're going through a bit of the darkness, and then we come back into the light, and we go, we're spiraling up.
Absolutely. And taking that to the individual, because, you're talking from a coaching perspective, but for someone who might be on here who's
going through their own.
Yeah, they just feel stuck or whatever. I know that what was true for me is exactly what you've described here. And that is that it's just, you just get started consistently doing the work. You just consistently do the work. It helps if you have a coach or a mentor, because that's short, you know what I mean? That
can shortcut it and help, but it's an accelerator. Yeah,
it truly is.
But even if you can't afford a personal coach or mentor, there's books, there's podcasts, there's you don't need to be in a personal relationship with someone to be coached or mentored by them. There's so many amazing resources now to get support for very little.
And really it's true. It's just it's the consistency. Consistencies come up quite a bit actually in this event. But it is being intentional, and then being consistent, and trusting the process.
Trusting the process.
100%. Because that 100%. Is, that the real, it just overtakes your life at a certain point. That's where transformation happens.
Exactly. It's in the surrender to the journey, not stopping trying to control it, or stopping, or judging yourself based on how the expectations of others, or where you think you should be, or how much you have compared to someone else. It's like, okay, so how can I be consistent to what feels good for me? How can I grow my deep roots? And a lot of the personal kind of foundations of this transformation really come back to, in my kind of studies, I've discovered that it comes back to power, pleasure, and presence. And the first being presence, coming present to this moment now, becoming present to your body, to being grateful for the space that you're in, the air that you get to breathe. That's the first pillar, is just becoming present. And so often we can get hijacked by the past and replaying the stories of the past in our minds, and that leaks our power.
It does.
Right? When you're playing the stories of the past over in your mind, it leaks out your power. It stops you feeling powerful. it, you know, makes you feel like a victim because your power isn't in your, like it isn't in present time. Your mind isn't in present time. So bringing, like, for anyone who's struggling and kind of suffering, the you know, the most useful insights that I've found has been really calling your attention as much as you possibly can back into now, like even just being present. Okay, this is my body, and taking a deep breath and allowing yourself to start to remember and come back into the body and into this moment now. And the more that we can remember that we can be in this moment now, and any possibility exists for us when we come back into now, and we're not just replaying the scripts of the past.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And then from presence, where would you take people?
So then from presence, we move into power. So, and power, I think, is something that's been misunderstood and, you know, is much maligned, right? Is much maligned. And I'm talking about the inner sense of, I have power within my body. I have power to be the person that I want to be, not in the sense of I'm having power over someone else.
Yes,
and
that is a control.
That is a control, right? That's a force, and that's a control. And so when, you know, those times where you feel powerless, that's, you know, that then we're kind of starting to connect in with the victim archetype, the person that feels powerless, like they need to be saved, or that they don't have the capacity to do things for themselves. And so if you're in that space, then it can feel like you want to be rescued, or that there are so many people out there that are having power over you. And when we go deeply into this, then just like you said, the consistency, one way that the victim can, you know, that the victim space, when we're in that archetype, you know, when we're in that one and you know, aren't, I guess, feel almost overpowered by that space, when we're in that place where we feel powerless, it kind of seems counterintuitive, but a way that we can start to build up and reclaim our power is taking responsibility for things, even small things that we can take responsibility for. And so the more that we can take responsibility, not necessarily for everything, or that all the thing, you know, this is not about victim blaming, but going, okay, so what can I take from this place now, from this moment now? What can I take responsibility for, even in a small way, that's going to move me forward to where I want to go, to something that feels joyful and pleasurable for me?
Yes.
So that's where we go, okay, so maybe it's, you know, when I wake up in the morning, maybe I do a few stretches, because that's something I can take responsibility for. And it puts me into a more pleasant mind state that then allows me to make better choices for breakfast, and, you know, then allows me to maybe have some restraint. Instead of going on and scrolling social media, I might, you know, read a positive book, or you know, listen to a meditation. And so when we're feeling disempowered, the shift to starting to become more empowered and feel more empowered is responsibility, taking responsibility for those things, and then allowing yourself to start to feel and allow yourself to, as you gain more responsibility, then you can gain more assertiveness as well, and start to go, okay, I'm taking responsibility for these things, and you start to gain this power back. And it can be at the very basic level of power, the power in your body, your vitality. And so by eating, you know, the most healthy foods that you have access to and you can eat, and then starting to think about, okay, so what's going to bring me joy on this day? And that's where we start to move into pleasure, where it's like, what is actually calling to me that's going to serve me and nourish me and bring true lasting joy, rather than this kind of short-term quick fix type of pleasure that we can, you know, everyone can get stuck in that loop where we're feeling pain or disempowered on the inside, and we reach for a coffee or a chocolate or a bit of internet scrolling, or those types of things, right? Where we can get stuck in that survival loop of feeling bad on the inside and then just reaching for something to soothe us. Something to soothe. And so then we think, okay, right, well, I need to quickly change the way that I'm doing things and wanting to get out of it. But oftentimes what can set us back is trying to go too far and trying to do too much. So just taking...
That's why your exponential curve is such a great, it really is. It's a great graphic, because true transformation that hits the heights that people are it doesn't start big. No, it is small, consistent, intentionality and trusting. You have to trust the process and know. You don't know when it's going to kick in, but when it does,
you're on. You just got to keep moving forward and trusting the process. And that was an interesting thing when I was listening to this exponential growth lecture, was that because it's so non-linear, this exponential doubling curve, it's like, I can imagine, okay, if I'm here and I take 10 paces, if I take 10 linear steps, I can imagine, I'm here, then I'm going to be over there 10 steps from here. But if you imagine 10 steps in an exponential curve, it's like all the way around the planet, like the doubling. If I'm taking one step and then 2 steps and then 4 steps and then 8 steps and then 16 steps and then suddenly
the power of compounding.
You've traveled this crazy distance that is so far beyond our capacity to project or to understand. And so when we're on this exponential curve, trust is so important. And faith is so important, and just staying the path. And like, if you feel that you're that you're on this healing journey, you're on an exponential curve, you're on an exponential growth path, and that there is change that will happen in these small, tiny steps, that those steps matter and that those steps make a difference. And I think so many people fall off and go back into difficulty because they can't trust that little step makes a difference.
I think because they're focused on the two results focused instead of true transformation focus. Right? Because it's almost like the quality of the inside has to be there to support a big rise, or you have a roller coaster. And see, I've lived this. And now I'm in that. I'm in that exponential. So I get it, because that instant gratification. And like you said, a lot of times some of that comes from like comparing. You're comparing. It's like, there's a line it just came to me in the movie Secretariat. Did you ever see?
I haven't seen it. It's okay. So tell me.
Oh, that is a great movie, because what I love about it is it's about a real racehorse, and it's the story behind the real racehorse who won the first Triple Crown in like 100 years or something. Yes. And so but there's a one line in the movie where the father, who is experiencing, he was the owner of the farm and everything, and the daughter has stepped in after the mother has passed, and she's trying to juggle. She's living in Colorado. Her kids are there. Her husband's an attorney. And this goes back to like the 60s or early 70s. So it's a different time, right?
Yeah.
And the father at one point is outside, and she brings the horse over. Now the horse is just like a yearling or something. And he says, this is the colt of Bold Ruler. You can tell I love this movie. And the father stands up, and he has what you would consider to be a lucid moment, because he's suffering from some level of dementia, and he's out of it most of the time, right? That he walks over to the horse, and he touches the muzzle. He touches the nose of the horse, and he says, he looks at the horse, and then he turns to the daughter. And this is like futuring, because
Totally.
the horse has really not competed or done anything at all.
Yeah.
And he says to her, the father says to the daughter, let him run his race. Let him run his race. And that's what just came to me. We have to let ourselves run our race. I think you'll love that.
Yeah,
I do.
I will. My sister is a racehorse trainer.
Really?
My sister is a
it's a Disney movie. It's a beautiful movie for your children.
Yeah,
your children are young.
I'll get it. It'll be beautiful.
Very good.
It's that, and then that's the thing, is like so often like that linear curve, that linear, projection is the script of kind of what's expected, and you need to have done this by this and this by this, and by 30 you need to have done XYZ, and by 40 you've got this, and it's this just kind of linear progression.
Yes.
And so many of us that are bringing in this future, this new future, we're running different races.
We're running different races. This horse has trouble like getting out of the gate. I mean, the horse has such a mind of its own. It doesn't. And so these other horses, they're on that linear, right? And then this horse, when he kicks in, it when you watch it, I'm just telling you, and
I'll cry.
And I love it because it is it's a movie about a real story, a real horse, real people. Yeah, and it totally beautiful. Rubber stamps exactly what you're talking about here.
It's that, it's that I think so many people that are transformational change makers in their early stages, that they get, that they can fall victim to this self-judgment and stop their journey and not become, not become what their soul is yearning for them to be, because they're not sticking it out in the challenging moments.
There's a saying, don't shortcut the shortcut.
Don't shortcut the shortcut. That's it.
Because you could compare yourself. You're like, don't shortcut the shortcut.
You're on your own path. You're on your own growth journey.
It's how big is the vision that you see?
That's right.
If you see that big vision, don't shortcut the shortcut. That foundation.
The foundations mean everything.
And everything improves along the way. It's not like,
of course,
you know what I'm saying? It's not like you have to wait 5 years to know. No. Everything improves along the way.
Little by little.
But then when the momentum, it's amazing.
It just goes. It goes. It's amazing. Oh, I love it too. Thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to kind of bring this, way of working. And I love working in visual models and kind of explaining things in that way. And I think it can be quite valuable for people to go, oh, right, I'm there. Oh, okay. Now I see it. I can understand, and I can have, compassion for myself and faith in the journey that I'm on,
To me, when you talk about like the linear versus the exponential, to me, it's like the linear is like veneer and the exponential is like hardwood.
Yes. Or when we relate it to like bright or brilliant, I see linear as the bright future, that it looks good on the outside. It's got all the trappings, you've got the white picket fence and the fancy car and the corner office. But when we're talking exponential, that's a soul-led life.
Yes.
Right? That's a soul-led life.
It's not a one-dimensional Hollywood movie set that looks like a house.
No, it's a real house. It is with real foundations.
And properly done, it can be a mansion with many rooms, many hallways, many doors.
Yeah. And there's blood, sweat and tears and trials and errors and, intention and commitment that is built into it, that's built
anyone on that path, it definitely, I mean, I think if you name that curve, then you need to align yourself with someone who who's
Exactly.
at least over that minefield that can say step there,
Yeah.
step there, step there, so you
Yeah.
don't get blown up and bloody along the way and go back to
Exactly.
go. You know what I
That's
mean?
right. That's
Yeah.
right. Because when, it's like it's so easy to put yourself down when you're in in those early stages, and it's like, no, like keep going. Like
That's right.
we can do this together.
Trust the
Together we rise.
process.
Together we
Yes.
rise.
I'm
Trust the
through this. I'm through
process.
this. A
That's
follow.
right.
Okay. I love
Yeah.
this. This is a great model.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear you
Oh,
bringing
thank
this
you.
conversation, because I do
Yeah.
notice um, these kind of, I don't know. It's just, it can't just be smoke and mirrors, and
It's not.
it can't be like a Hollywood movie set. Like, not if
No.
you are really, if you're really after accomplishing a purpose and affecting
Affecting change,
change,
affecting,
massive
yeah.
change, like,
Yeah.
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 So you're,
Integrity, authenticity is like
yes,
they're ground zero
they
for this
are.
work.
Yes.
Yeah.
So those are the people that you are attracting.
Yeah, it's amazing actually. I'm working with some really, really wonderful people at the moment, and some wonderful coaches and healers at all different levels of their own kind of business growth, and I'm excited to work with. I'm working kind of private coaching with some of the business coaches that are doing really big things in the outside world, and are just starting to wake up to their inner world. So I'm really excited to work with them and
That's
kind of
awesome.
bring that together. And then, in my training in my training and masterminding and work, then I'm able to support the coaches that are coming up and start, people that are still kind of on their healing journey, or just starting to shift from their healing journey into going, ooh, I want to, like, this is really magical, and I want to start to make a difference in this way. And that to that for that shift, it's like shifting from the struggling savior type of mentality where you're struggling yourself and want to save everybody, but you're kind of bleeding out at the same time, up into this kind of level of conscious healer, where you're doing this inner work and you're staying the path and being consistent, and then shifting up into this sense of magnetic leadership where, and so I'm kind of taking people that are on that path, that are on that
Magnetic
pathway.
leadership. I love that.
Magnetic
I
leadership.
love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. And it's just such an honor to be able to be on this path, and be a mom and have a beautiful house to live in. And, I'm very blessed. And so it's absolutely an honor to be able to share this work
And for someone
the world.
who's here and they're just looking to affect a change in their life, the thing I would say to
Yeah.
them is just do the work. Just do the work. Do the foundational work, because the
To be the
foundational work,
foundation.
it has a holistic reward.
It has a holistic reward. And it's like I'm kind of 15 years into my inner work, but I started out overweight, in debt, on drugs, sleeping around, struggling, hating myself, like crying myself to sleep at night, smoking pot, drinking all the time, like just to go to sleep at night. And with all this potential, but it was unrealized then because I had so much kind of inner healing work to do.
It was buried.
But it was buried. It was buried under all of that shame and doubt and uncertainty and pain and grief. And
but it was buried. It was buried treasure.
It was inside. It was buried, and it's inside you. Like if you're really struggling right now, and you're watching this, you're watching Dr. Jeanne and all of the amazing guests that she's on. If you're watching this and you're struggling or suffering, you have the seed of greatness inside you. You have it. You have it. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this.
Yeah, reach out for some suggestions for the next step or the next series of steps, because those of us who are here have done that.
We've done that too. We've been on that journey, and oh my God, I've got so many articles and like free blog posts and hypnosis things. And, you know, there's so many free things that we can give to support those people. Like this is a gift, right? A gift that's free to give to the people that are starting out on that journey, because when you start to go further along, you want to give back to those that are, you know, that are starting out. So, oh yeah.
Happy
What a
Boxing
blessing.
Day. We're going to sign off. My goodness, the time just flies. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kylie. Thank you for...
What an honor.
Thank you for joining us. And
thank you.
And thank your family for lending you to us.
Sharing me.
Yes, sharing you. I love that.
It's a pleasure.
I love that. Well, we're going to sign off the live stream right now. So for all of you there in live stream land, we're going to say goodbye. We will be back for one more. Our final session will be in about an hour and 15 minutes, and that will be with Yvonne Delafleur, who will be, she'll be wrapping up the event, and it is a not to be missed. So thank you all for tuning in. Please share. There's someone that you have thought of who needs to hear what Kylie just talked about. If they came to your mind, take action. Just share. And thank you.